In a 10 party wipe, you can become the most powerful of all dark wizards in Hogwarts Legacy if you so choose. And the setup that allows you to do so is so insanely overpowered that you can take out a massive group of enemies with one spell. Yeah. What is essentially the glass cannon build for Hogwarts Legacy, if you know the Crucio and Avada Kedavra spells along with the mastery talents for these curses, you can be what is essentially death itself. Avada Kedavra normally only targets one enemy. However, the Avada Kedavra mastery talent allows for the curse to hit anyone with the hidden curse status effect, which is given to characters when an unforgivable is used on them. Crucio is the easiest way for this effect to be applied, and with the Crucio mastery talent, you can cause Crucio to spread to other nearby targets. It's very useful for spreading curse to as many enemies as possible without actually having to target them individually, which is important because, well, once curse has been applied to all or almost all of the enemies in the area, you can use Avada Kedavra to wipe them all out. It doesn't matter what enemy you hit, as long as they're all cursed, all you gotta do is use Avada Kedavra once and score an instant kill, and then all the enemies with curse will die. Yeah. Absolutely terrifying.
Number 9, get a reaction. Really doesn't feel like I'm stepping up here with my point, but hey, I'm all about relationship building in games, so for me this is something pretty big. Well, there is no morality system for you to worry about in Hogwarts Legacy, and thus, of course, no real judgment that can come from you using unforgivable curses or devastating, damaging consequences from doing so either, well, other than death, obviously. There are those among your companions that will not be fans of you doing so, and will make it known to you. That being said, they also won't stop being friends with you, or get you in trouble, or anything like that. They'll just have a reaction whenever you cast the killing curse around them, which I feel like makes sense. I mean, if you want to cause a stir and get a reaction out of any of these companions, then this might be a curse that you want to use. But also, if you don't want to see them react negatively, even without any actual impact to your relationship with them, then perhaps the killing curse is best for you to avoid casting around these folks, or even just learning altogether. Those that have been known to react negatively to you doing so include Natty, Ominous, and Amit. I'm personally torn between whether or not to even learn this one due to Natty not being a fan, because I'm a huge fan of Natty, who might actually also be my number one crush over at Hogwarts in the game so far, so I don't know, but it'd also be so useful.
And it ain't anger management. As the protagonist of the game, as Amanda just said, you can't really get in trouble for the things that you do. Not in a significant way. Cause then, who else is gonna save their sorry asses at the end of the day, right? Yeah. Well, knowing that you can't get in trouble for it, the developers did plan ahead. Much like Bethesda preventing kids in their games from being killed, no matter how goddamn annoying they are, you can't kill any of the classmates or staff in this game for multiple reasons, as well, like breaking the game. However, this means that should you have a bad day, in real life or in game, you can rejoice in the fact that you can run around school and take it out on everyone you see. And you don't need to worry about the repercussions either. Yep, that's right, you're basically like a hot girl in an 80s coming-of-age college movie in Hogwarts Legacy, which is a whole other can of worms that I don't want to think about too much, because if I'm honest, it's kind of concerning, which is ironic given the topic we're discussing. But hey, if you don't want to go to therapy, you can always have your virtual magic punching bags at your fingertips. I still prefer blade and sorcery personally, but hey, that's me.
Number 7, defeat enemies. As Connor said earlier, while you can't use this curse on your fellow classmates at the school, there are some creatures you can use it on. Apparently innocent little ones too, which I don't like it. Yes, you can use Avada Kedavra in combat as well. You can use it against formidable foes that are in essence mini-boss tanks, such as fearsome Acromantula and even destructive trolls. Heck, even armored destructive trolls. This curse is extremely overpowered when it comes to battling some of the most troublesome enemies that you can come up against. But that being said, if you are tempted by the dark arts because of the seeming ease of this spell, then you should also know that it isn't the only path you can take when it comes to easily defeating your enemies. And it's also got a really long cooldown, so something to think about. There are other branches you can lean into in order to gain the ability of just one-shotting your enemies, especially when combined with other skills like potion making. And don't even get me started on all the kind of damage that you can do with just your herbology skills alone. Also, while I'm fine with this curse being used against tough enemies, I certainly would fight to protect any little innocent creatures that you might feel tempted to use it on. Don't do it. Don't do it.
And at 6, killing Crookshanks. Yeah, that's right. Avada Kedavra is just as bad as you'd think it would be. I mean, it's the killing curse. So, yeah. But while you might not be able to harm your fellow Hogwarts alumni, you can go around harming innocent creatures, like cats. Yeah, because, well, you can in theory. I've avoided looking it up for obvious reasons, but YouTuber Mr. Moose, who is the first to experiment on our poor feline friends. The player performs Levioso, raising the cat into the air before using Expelliarmus to fling it under a public bench where it just seems to cease to exist. It like blinks out of existence. But yeah, I'd like to say that this makes me very sad, okay? I'm a dog person, but still, leave the kitties alone. Anyway, many have pointed out that you can seemingly use any spell in Hogwarts Legacy on cats. So, yeah. You see where I'm going with this. I mean, sure, you can go around and you can be a monster because it's a game world and there aren't really any consequences for you being a total lunatic, but I don't know, maybe you'll have some internal conflict about harming an innocent kitty cat, or hopefully you would, because come on, even in games, I feel like the general community feels like animals are off limits. That's why games are focusing on like giving animals power, like Goat Simulator, Untitled Goose Game, or that one with the squirrel wielding a 9mm. But hey, don't kill the cat. And I mean, it's not Crookshanks specifically, but if I said killing an animal in the title of this and put it in the description for tags, YouTube would get mad at me. So there you go.
Number 5, defeat bosses. That's really brought the mood down that last point. I don't know. I love petting all the cats in Hogwarts Legacy, so don't come for them, or I will come for you. One of the other things that you can do with Avada Kedavra, though, that aside, it gets a very intense reaction out of some of the bosses that you're going to encounter in this game. Well, not all of them are quite easily as defeated with Avada Kedavra, as some have cutscenes that they need to stay alive for, such as the Ranrock Dragon and the Grafhorn. There are many that can actually be one-shotted with this curse, which honestly, it makes it really tempting to me to use. I personally am notoriously bad at blocking in combat, and while I enjoy the fun of casting spells, it would be nice to have something that I could use to just kind of like one-shot most of my enemies, bosses included, that I've just died too many times, and I'm like, you know what? Avada Kedavra, like, this is too frustrating, let's skip this. I honestly think this makes the killing curse, though, insanely overpowered. Perhaps not as much as cabbages, though, in the game. I mean, at least with the killing curse, you'd expect it to do enough damage to kill an enemy, and then of course, maybe even a boss, but with cabbages, well, you would never expect them to do that. However, if you want something more direct and simple than the Chinese chomping cabbage farm, you can always just learn Avada Kedavra. Although I suppose it is important to note that you need to wait until you are high enough level to cast it, which usually means you're actually going to have even completed the main quest at that point in the game, as the main quest is actually a lower level quest than the ones you need to undertake before you can unlock the killing curse. So.
And at 4, Chamber of Secrets. Okay, now while the Chamber of Secrets may not be accessible in Hogwarts Legacy, it's still very much present. From multiple references to the second installment of the main series, like a Polyjuice potion in the bathroom and the sink in Moaning Myrtle's yet to be possessed bathroom, there's even a basilisk Easter egg that can appear in the Slytherin common room, but that last one also implies that there is an heir to Salazar Slytherin who's currently at the school who released the basilisk. So why couldn't that be you? I mean, many people already assume the game will release a DLC at some point, and while I'd personally enjoy a Triwizard Tournament more than this, opening the chamber and causing some havoc would be a pretty damn good use for the killing curse. I mean, it's the killing curse, and it's a giant freaking snake monster. But considering how the game kind of shoehorns you into being a hero who saves the day, I don't think that is that likely of a possibility, unfortunately. Because, like, come on, if I can't let my homicidal urges out in a video game, that's just gonna be bad news for everyone. That's a joke, guys, okay? My homicidal urges are within the normal amount. Wait, sorry, what? Oh, the normal amount is 0. Oh no.
Number 3, strengthen your relationship. One of the ways you can use this curse is to actually strengthen your bonds to certain individuals in the game. Spoiler incoming on this point, major spoiler, and honestly from this point on there's a couple coming up, so just so you know. I am of course talking about your friend and mine, resident Hogwarts bad boy, Sebastian Sallow. I honestly love Sebastian's character, and it's during your relationship quests with him that he will offer to teach you this epic, unforgivable curse. And if you don't want to learn it the first time that he offers it, feeling, you know, maybe it's an inappropriate time for you despite your perhaps interest in learning it later, you will be given a second opportunity to not only learn Avada Kedavra, but also any of the other unforgivable curses you feel you missed out on from Sebastian himself. Why am I not surprised that Sebastian is the one who offers to teach us the darkest spells in existence? Definitely a bad boy through and through, I suppose. Sebastian.
But ultimately, in at number 2, Betrayal. Welcome to Watch Mojo. Today we'll be counting down the top 10 worst anime betrayals, but it's Hogwarts Legacy. While yes, you can strengthen your relationship with Sebastian by learning the unforgivables, you can also ruin it and stab him in the back. And while that may sound terrible, it doesn't come without reason. You see, you'll spend all this time getting to know Sebastian, and you may even think you guys are chill. You may think you're buddies. Maybe you're even like two kindred spirits. But spoiler alert, when he ends up using the unforgivable on his uncle, well, then what do? You can ignore it, and you can just pretend like it didn't happen. Because I mean, come on, you clicked on this video to find more ways to use Avada Kedavra, for God's sakes. But you can also turn Sebastian in for using the curse, which I find funny because you're like, hey, he used an unforgivable, and not, hey, he murdered somebody. Should you choose to stab your friend in the back for literally committing homicide, the game will adapt to it, causing the ending as well as some other story points to be a little bit different. Mostly, I'm guessing, because he's not around for them, but the choice is ultimately yours. Do you want to be friends with the guy who killed his uncle, or do you want to get rid of him now that you no longer really have a use? Yeah, that's right. I turned it into something dark and disturbing. It's one of my many talents.
Number 1. Skip ahead to Priori and incantatem. Question mark? Priori incantatem? Is that you? Not only can you use this spell to defeat bosses, but it can also be used to basically just skip ahead in some battles to the final moment. So while some foes are not able to just be straight up killed by the killing curse, there are also those enemies who, while not killed immediately, will simply become killable as a result of you using it, if that makes sense to you. Basically, in your final battle against Victor Rookwood, for example, using the Avada Kedavra curse allows you to skip ahead to what some are referring to, I think kind of incorrectly here, as Priori incantatem, when your two spells hit one another, allowing you to push back against Rookwood's own attempt to cast the killing curse on you, because Rookwood loves that curse. However, it is unclear if this is really Priori incantatem, as there are of course no echoes of past spells, and it's unclear if our wands actually even share the same core here. Also, one of the wands indeed seems to get destroyed with its wielder, so it doesn't seem to be Priori incantatem to me. In the books, Priori incantatem can only happen when two wands share the exact same core, being seen as brothers, and it is extremely rare. It happens in the instance when the wands refuse to kill one another. However, in the films, Harry Potter and Voldemort finish their battle in a similar way when their two spells collide, although this doesn't seem to quite be Priori incantatem either. Voldemort here is not using his own wand, but the Elder Wand, which I believe has a Thestral core. Harry's wand is a Phoenix Feather core, so these two wands don't even share a core from the same kind of magical beast, let alone the same specific animal. Just as Voldemort turns to dust, Rookwood seems to explode into dust, following the final time when your spells collide and you successfully push your magic back into his wand. I don't know what core Rookwood's wand is, but it just seems like this is more of like a film adaptation of Priori incantatem, if that's even what's happening, or simply two spells colliding and not Priori incantatem at all that we're seeing here. But I get it, people see spells colliding and they think, hey, maybe some Priori incantatem. I get it.
Hey, we got some Priori incantatem over here.
Oh my gosh.
In the 10 Hagrid Memorial. Players of Hogwarts Legacy have discovered what they believe to be a tribute to the late Robbie Coltrane within the game. Harry Potter enthusiasts are thrilled to see Hagrid, one of the most adored characters from the books, receiving some acknowledgement within the game, even though technically he might not even exist yet. Throughout the series, Hagrid has played various different roles, such as the groundskeeper of Hogwarts and, in fact, a teacher, and due to his relationship with Harry, he became a significant figure for fans, and following Coltrane's passing back in October of 2022, fans are happy to see him getting at least a little bit of a feature within the game. The memorial is conveniently located by flying south of Hogwarts until you find Hagrid's hut. Yep, it's right behind there. It's positioned outside by the lake, and near that hut is a small gravestone with a hippogriff on the front, which many believe to be a nod to Hagrid and his beloved Buckbeak, which I mean, I feel like is pretty accurate considering it's Hagrid's hut. And at 9, Vanishing Cabinet. The Vanishing Cabinet is a pretty pivotal item in the Harry Potter series, as a pair of Vanishing Cabinets would act as a passage between two places. Vanishing Cabinets were also highly popular during the First Wizarding War, because in the event of a Death Eater attack, you could just like step into it and then disappear to the other one, and then when the danger was gone, you could just go back. If an object had been placed in one, it would appear in the other. Okay, it's just like Star Trek teleportation. It's teleportation, alright? A feature, though, that allowed for Draco Malfoy to successfully transport several Death Eaters from Borgin and Burkes into Hogwarts during the Half-Blood Prince, an event which directly caused the death of Albus Dumbledore and, in essence, started the final battle with Voldemort. And this heartbreaking moment is referenced in Hogwarts Legacy, which I mean makes sense, given that the very same Vanishing Cabinet can be seen by the player in the Room of Requirement. And since the original Vanishing Cabinet was also in the Room of Requirement, we definitely know that this was meant to be the same one. Plus, I mean, come on, there's no way that it's not. We all know it. And it ate giant squid! It's well known that the Great Lake houses many different creatures. A lot of them, alright? It's weird. But none are bigger or perhaps more terrifying than the giant squid. And because the Slytherin common room is actually below ground, you can summon this thing by auto-attacking the windows. Yeah, if you do it enough, you'll be treated to one of the squid's huge tentacles just slamming against the glass. And that's not the only instance you can see this thing either. The giant squid cave is a secret hidden area beneath Hogwarts Castle, accessible only by swimming. In this cave, a squid-themed pedestal can be found next to a mosaic, indicating a potential entrance to a secret area. And as it turns out, placing Toast onto the pedestal unlocks Jackdaw's Rest quest, the 15th main quest from the storyline, because, you know, giant squids love toast. Players will also be able to sneak a sight of the giant squid while they fly past the lake, because as you zoom above it during like flying practice, I think, is the situation where this happens, you can see the tentacles pop out. And you can do this no matter what house you're in, alright? So you don't need to worry about being a snake in order to see this game's tentacles. And yes, you know what I meant. And it's 7 Follow the Butterflies. Yep, that's right. There's actually a quest called Follow the Butterflies in Hogwarts Legacy. I'm sure Ron would be pretty steamed about that, given that the name is a direct reference to the iconic line from Chamber of Secrets, "Why spiders? Why couldn't it be Follow the Butterflies?" To begin this quest, you gotta head to Hogsmeade and speak to Clementine Willardsley. She can be found in the Three Broomsticks, and she'll ask you to follow some butterflies deep into the Forbidden Forest. Cause, you know, it's forbidden, so go in there. Do it! You can get there a couple of ways, but the most efficient is to travel by Floo to the Forbidden Forest fast travel point and then head north to find these butterflies. The swarming group is red, orange, and purple, so you'll know it when you see it, and then just approach them and then they'll begin to move. So then you gotta follow them as the quest name indicates, and they'll go down the stream and travel up a path and stuff, and then you'll have to fight a Dugbog and some poachers along the way, but keep following them and you'll find a box. You loot it, and then you return to Clementine at the Three Broomsticks, and then you tell her what happened. You can tell her that you found treasure, or you can say that there was nothing there to make sure that you get to keep the loot for yourself. Even though I haven't played it, I feel like even if you say you found the treasure, she's like, okay, you can keep it. I feel like that's the thing. And it's 6 Weasley twins. I think in the Harry Potter series, gingers are pretty synonymous with the Weasley family. I mean, I don't think there are any other gingers in the books or movies that aren't Weasleys, but that's also kind of the point. No matter. Despite what may be accurate, I think we all think Weasley whenever we see a ginger in Harry Potter. So, imagine the intrigue when we see 2 of them outside of Zonko's joke shop in Hogsmeade. Yeah, in Hogwarts Legacy you can find 2 identical ginger twin boys wearing what are seemingly hand-me-downs looking into a prank shop. I mean, Easter eggs don't really get as direct as this, okay? Especially when they're twins that are representing future Hogwarts pranksters that will one day own their own joke shop in Hogsmeade. Although these obviously aren't actually Fred and George, since they wouldn't even have been a possible thought yet, let alone alive, given that their parents probably aren't born yet and are probably a couple of generations away at best. But it's confirmed that they're not Fred and George because both of them have both of their ears and they're both alive. Halfway through into number 5, Hogwarts Legacy VR. Okay, the ability to explore Hogwarts and attend classes in a game like this where you aren't forced to play The Boy Who Lived has been wanted for ages. Plenty of fans have been wanting to go to Hogwarts for decades, as evident by the slew of records this game has shattered. Like I said, from most viewed games on Twitch ever to best-selling Harry Potter game, some fans, though, were still bummed by the inability to play this in virtual reality, which would let you feel like a true wizard. But that's kind of been solved, in a sense, thanks to a VR mod by PreyDog. The Hogwarts Legacy VR mod is based on the universal VR mod made by PreyDog, which essentially makes almost any game developed with Unreal Engine 4 or 5 compatible with running in VR headsets. And since Hogwarts Legacy was made in Unreal Engine, it works with the mod. And while not an Easter egg for the game specifically, alright, it's still something that you can check out if you are underwhelmed by the lack of immersion. Currently though, it does require a keyboard and controller. You can't use the Oculus touch controllers or the like, but the experience is mostly a free-form first-person one. It changes to third person during cutscenes and spells, but other than that, it's pretty cool. In it for wizard chess. Personally, I believe that Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone, whatever you want to call it, is one of the most unrealistic Harry Potter stories out there, okay? Because honestly, who in their right mind would do all of this insane as a 12-year-old who just found out they're a wizard? No way, not a chance in hell. Especially when I've been growing up getting abused by my deranged aunt and uncle for my whole life. Harry not developing some sort of personality disorder or trauma response because of that is absolutely insane, but it's that, again, aside the point. But also, like, this kid ends up thinking that a teacher is evil, so he, as a newbie wizard with uncle issues, thinks that he's gonna stop the adult full wizard who is a master of potions, and then chases what he thought would be that teacher through a series of trials that nearly kills him and his friends. Hermione can almost get poisoned, Harry almost bites it to the worst mullet in history, and I'm talking about Voldemort on the back of Quirrell's head, and Ron nearly gets crushed by a giant wizard chess piece because they all think that becoming chess pieces in a game where the pieces get destroyed is a good idea. But nevertheless, you can find one of the pawn chess pieces from that set in the Room of Requirement. It's not the one that Ron rides because he rides a knight and this is a pawn, but still, it's kinda cool. Getting close to the end of number 3, Sirius Black's Cell. Prisoner of Azkaban is probably one of my least favorite Harry Potter installments, because like nothing really happens. And I mean, like, yeah, sure, Philosopher's Stone is unrealistic, but this one, it's kind of boring. Like, sure, there's time travel, but it's not like fun time travel. There's no conflict that arises because of it. Harry doesn't need to try to get his parents back together or something crazy like that. And I mean, like, yeah, it introduces Sirius Black, but the whole conspiracy about Sirius helping Voldy and killing Pettigrew, I don't know, it just seemed like it was a lot of exposition and there wasn't really any stakes. And while we may not really be able to reference events from this movie, since it doesn't have long-lasting consequences, you can still see the location where Hermione punched Draco, and through Professor Ronen's office up on the battlements, you're able to visit the very cell that Sirius Black was held in while he was waiting for his last meeting with the Dementors. Casting Revelio here will show you a field page guide hinting at other dark events to come. Maybe perhaps something that got into the dungeon? But ultimately, in at number 2, Avada Kedavra. This one, I mean, this one's fairly simple. Avada Kedavra is the killing curse, and no one has ever survived it, at least at the time that this game is taking place. The only person who's ever going to survive it is Harry Potter, who got a lightning bolt scar for his troubles, which seemingly came out of left field and didn't really make much sense, at least to me, until I saw the spell being cast in Hogwarts Legacy, since the path made by the spell is very reminiscent of a lightning bolt. Not like the cartoon lightning per se, like Harry's scar or like the flash symbol, but definitely more lightning than other spells like Configure or Stupefy. So in that sense, it explains that aspect of things in my brain. I don't know. I've heard some say that it's like the movement that you have to make with your wand, and that's like the scar, and that's why he has it. But also, my experience with the Harry Potter dueling mobile game from back in like 2010, it has it more like a 4 that's had one too many butterbeers. All right, it's not a lightning bolt. Hopefully we can find a picture of it to put on screen. I don't know. The mobile game, by the way, was called Harry Potter Spells, and is no longer available. I checked. And finally, in at number 1, Daedalian Key Quest. So I did mention that I think the Philosopher's Stone is the most unrealistic Harry Potter story, but nevertheless it is what started it all, so there's bound to be a few references to events that have yet to pass in terms of the game timeline. The Daedalian Key Quest in particular is one of them. The quest involves locating flying keys and placing them into keyholes of cabinets to unlock house tokens and exclusive house relic robes. This Easter egg references a trial created by Professor Flitwick to safeguard Nicholas Flamel's Philosopher's Stone, the one that was perfectly attuned to Harry's strengths of flying for some reason, but also didn't present any mortal danger to him like Hermione's trial or Ron's. Looking back though, imagine like if Ron was having like an off day and ended up getting his friends killed in the chess match, but he survived. Whew. Harry may somehow not have trauma from the Dursleys, but Ron definitely would after that. Oh, talk about survivor's guilt. Do you think he would have been charged with like manslaughter? Do wizards have crimes like that they could like actually like try? And if they do try those cases, are they obstructing justice from the London court system? These are the kinds of things that I think about when not looking for Easter eggs. Speaking of which, we've talked about them before, one of which should be popping up on the screen now. Thanks for watching.